Everyone thought Samantha wore camo just to be rebellious. They had no idea she kept her father's dog tags hidden under her shirt, or that he'd been missing in action for 847 days. When the Black Hawk landed during lunch period, she finally understood why the military had been watching her so closely. Welcome to Hidden Legends. Before we begin this powerful story of courage, skill, and forgotten heroism, tell me in the comments where you're watching from today. And if you believe stories like this need to be heard, hit that subscribe button and help us make sure they are. Samantha Mitchell had perfected the art of being invisible, though her military surplus clothing made that nearly impossible. While other girls at Riverside High wore designer clothes, 17-year-old Samantha showed up every day in camouflage pants, combat boots, and her father's oversized army jacket. There goes military freak again. Jessica Chen snickered as Samantha walked past their lunch table. Does she think she's heading to boot camp? Samantha kept walking, showing no emotion. She'd heard worse over the past 3 years. What her classmates didn't know was that every piece of clothing served a purpose. The combat boots were steel-toed and broken in. The cargo pants had reinforced pockets containing a tactical flashlight, multi-tool, and a GPS device disguised as a digital watch. Most importantly, hidden beneath her shirt, hung her father's dog tags on a chain around her neck. Staff Sergeant David Mitchell, 75th Ranger Regiment, MIA, 807 days and counting. She'd been 14 when 2 uniformed officers came to their door with news that would shatter her world. Her father's special operations team had lost contact during a classified mission in Syria. No bodies recovered, no confirmed casualties, just silence from a team that had never failed to check in. The official status was MIA, missing in action. After 2.5 years, everyone expected Samantha to move on. Her mother had started paperwork to have him declared dead, but Samantha couldn't let go. Her father's final words before deployment haunted her. "Stay ready, kiddo. Rangers always come home." So she stayed ready, wearing gear that would allow quick movement, maintaining the fitness routine he'd taught her, and carrying the encrypted phone he'd given her for emergency communications only. In 847 days, that phone had never received a single message, until today. During lunch period, Samantha noticed unusual activity around school. Teachers were whispering in hushed tones, the principal was constantly on her phone, and even Deputy Martinez, the school resource officer, seemed unusually alert. "Hey, military freak," Trevor Walsh called out across the cafeteria. "You waiting for your imaginary army buddies to rescue you?" His girlfriend Madison laughed loudly. Maybe she thinks if she dresses like a soldier long enough, her daddy will magically appear. But today their mockery felt different. Trevor kept glancing toward the entrance nervously, and Madison was fidgeting with her phone as if waiting for news. Then Samantha's encrypted phone buzzed. She nearly dropped her sandwich. The phone that had been silent for 847 days suddenly displayed a message: "Package inbound. Stay calm. Stay ready. Rangers lead the way." Her father's motto. Someone was using his words. Her hands trembling, she typed back, "Who is this?" The response came immediately. "Identity confirmed. Maintain position. ETA 12 minutes. Before she could process this fully, Deputy Martinez sat down at her table without invitation. "Samantha, I need you to remain calm. In about 10 minutes there's going to be unusual activity on school grounds. You're not in danger, and everything that's about to happen is connected to your father's service. You know about my father? I served with the 10th Mountain Division. Your father's reputation preceded him." He paused carefully. "His status has changed. The people coming to speak with you are from his chain of command, and they're going to explain things that have been classified until now." A low rumble filled the air, distant but growing closer. Helicopter rotors, big ones. Martinez stood up. "That's your ride, soldier. Time to learn what your father really did for a living." The thunderous sound grew until it vibrated through the building. Students rushed to windows as a massive Black Hawk helicopter descended toward the football field. Its olive green paint and lack of visible markings identified it as military, but there were no unit insignias. This was a ghost bird, used for operations that officially didn't exist. "Holy shit, that's coming right for the school," someone shouted. Deputy Martinez guided Samantha toward the exit. "They won't wait long." As they walked through hallways filled with gawking students and teachers, Martinez spoke loudly enough for everyone to hear. Sometimes the people we think we know best have the most important secrets. Samantha Mitchell isn't just the girl who wears military surplus. She's the daughter of one of America's most decorated special operations soldiers, and today she's being called to serve her country. The cafeteria fell silent. For the first time in 3 years, the faces staring at Samantha showed awe instead of mockery. Outside, the Black Hawk had landed on the 50-yard line. 3 figures in military dress uniforms stood near the aircraft, their bearing unmistakably that of career soldiers. The man in the center stepped forward and saluted, not casually, but with crisp, formal respect. "Miss Mitchell, I'm Colonel James Harrison, 75th Ranger Regiment. I served with your father in Afghanistan and Iraq. It's an honor to finally meet you." Samantha felt tears at the mention of her father's service. "Colonel, is my father? Your father is alive," Harrison said without hesitation, "and he's about to complete a mission that will make you very proud. But first we need to talk about your role and what happens next." The words hit like electricity. Alive. After 847 days of uncertainty, someone was finally giving her the answer she'd been desperate to hear. "My role? I'm just a high school student." Colonel Harrison exchanged glances with his companions. "Miss Mitchell, your father has been operating under deep cover for 2 years. His mission was compromised 3 weeks ago, and he's been evading enemy forces while trying to complete his objective. The only way to extract him safely is to use authentication protocols he established before deployment, protocols that require specific confirmation that only you possess." Samantha's hand went to her father's dog tags. "The authentication, it's on these." "Partially, but the complete sequence requires biometric confirmation from his next of kin. You, Miss Mitchell, are the key to bringing your father home." The Black Hawk's interior was filled with communication equipment, displays showing maps and satellite imagery, and constant radio chatter. As they lifted off, Colonel Harrison explained the situation over the engine noise through headsets. 3 years ago, intelligence indicated a terrorist cell was planning to acquire nuclear materials. Your father's team was inserted to infiltrate the organization. What they discovered was worse than expected. The cell had already obtained the materials and was planning attacks on multiple American cities. Samantha struggled to process this. Through the window, she watched her high school shrink below as they headed toward what appeared to be a classified military facility. "Your father's cover identity was so deep that when the mission went sideways, we couldn't extract him without exposing other assets. For 2 years, he's been playing the role of a weapons expert helping terrorists plan their attack, while actually gathering intelligence and sabotaging their operations." Captain Sarah Chen, an intelligence specialist, leaned forward. 2 weeks ago, the terrorists began final preparations. Your father sent a coded message indicating he could disrupt their plans, but only if he received specific technical information. The authentication sequence on your dog tags contains encrypted coordinates and specifications he buried before deployment. Combined with your biometric data, it will unlock the database he needs. The weight of responsibility was staggering. "What do I need to do?" "Scan the dog tags, then provide palm print, retinal scan, and voice authentication of a phrase your father taught you." Samantha immediately knew. Rangers never leave a ranger behind. The bedtime ritual from her childhood that had seemed so ordinary was actually a security phrase. The scanning process took minutes, but each second felt eternal. Layers of encryption peeled away, revealing coordinates, technical schematics, and communication protocols. When the final scan completed, Captain Chen's expression shifted to amazement. "Colonel, the target facility is a warehouse complex in Detroit, 50 miles from downtown. The attack is scheduled for 72 hours from now, during a major sporting event with over 80,000 people in the immediate area." Harrison nodded grimly. "And our asset's location? 12 miles from target. Thermal imaging shows heavy security. Once he makes his move, extraction becomes extremely difficult." At the hidden military facility, Samantha watched operations personnel coordinate what was clearly a major mission. Her father had just received the intelligence package and was proceeding with final operations. 4 to 6 hours until we know if the mission succeeded, Harrison explained. But Samantha, even if everything goes perfectly, this won't be the end of your involvement with military operations. What do you mean? Your performance today suggests you have capabilities that make someone valuable to national security operations. The military is always looking for people who can think clearly under pressure. Before Samantha could respond, alarms sounded. "Contact," shouted a technician. "Multiple hostiles converging on the asset's position. He's been compromised." The main display showed her father's location inside the terrorist facility, with red icons indicating enemy forces moving to surround him while he attempted to complete the mission. "Status of primary objective?" Harrison demanded. 70% complete. 3 weapons neutralized, 2 remaining. If he doesn't extract in 15 minutes, he'll be trapped. Samantha watched in horror as the red icons closed in. "Can't you send help? Assets are 20 minutes out. Your father needs to buy time by completing the mission. If those final weapons aren't neutralized, the terrorists can still execute their attack." The display showed her father moving deeper into the facility toward the final weapons, despite approaching enemy forces. "There," Samantha said, pointing at the display. "That ventilation shaft. Can he reach it?" Captain Chen checked architectural data. "Possible, but he'd have to abandon the final weapons." "No," Samantha said firmly. "He won't leave without finishing. That's not who he is." Suddenly, the communication technician called out, "Transmission from the asset. He's requesting extraction coordinates be sent to a secondary device." Harrison frowned. "What secondary device?" Samantha felt sudden clarity. "My phone. He wants coordinates sent to the encrypted phone he gave me." "Brilliant," Captain Chen said. "Terrorists would never monitor a device carried by a high school student in another state." As Samantha's phone received the encrypted extraction data, she felt connected to her father across the miles. The device she'd carried as a symbol of hope was now serving as his lifeline. The next 20 minutes passed in controlled chaos. Her father's icon moved with precision, avoiding patrols and completing objectives, while heading toward extraction. At 5:12 p.m. the final weapon was neutralized. At 5:18 p.m. he reached the extraction zone. Extraction successful. Asset secure. Mission complete. 3 hours later, a second Black Hawk landed. Samantha stood with Colonel Harrison and Captain Chen, watching as the helicopter's rotors wound down and the door opened. Staff Sergeant David Mitchell stepped out, thinner than she remembered, with new lines around his eyes and gray in his hair. But his smile was exactly the same as she ran toward him. "Hey there, kiddo," he said, catching her in a hug that felt like coming home. "I hear you've been staying ready." "Rangers always come home," she whispered. "That's right, and Rangers never leave a Ranger behind. Thanks for coming to get me." Colonel Harrison approached with a smile. "Staff Sergeant, your daughter showed remarkable courage today. She'd make an excellent addition to our intelligence community." David looked at his daughter with pride and concern. "Sam, you don't have to follow my path. You can have a normal life." Samantha considered the girl she'd been and the person she'd discovered today. "Dad, for 3 years, people called me military freak because they thought I was pretending, but I wasn't pretending, I was preparing. I don't want to go back to being invisible. I want to help other families avoid what we went through." David nodded slowly. "Then we'll figure it out together. But first, let's go home." 3 days later, Samantha walked into Riverside High wearing her usual military clothing. But this time, the whispers were different. Details were classified, but enough had leaked to transform military freak into something approaching respect. Trevor Walsh approached hesitantly. "Is it true you helped with some secret mission?" "I can't discuss details," Samantha replied calmly, "but sometimes the people you think are different are preparing for something important." 6 months later, Samantha graduated with a full ROTC scholarship. In her desk drawer next to her father's dog tags sat a medal for services to national security that could never be publicly acknowledged and a college acceptance letter for a program in defense intelligence. The girl who had worn camouflage to high school and been called military freak had learned that sometimes the biggest insults are the most accurate descriptions. She was military, not because of her clothing, but because of her character and willingness to serve something larger than herself. The Black Hawk that landed on the football field that October day had carried away a girl playing dress-up and brought back a young woman who understood that some clothes aren't costumes, they're uniforms worn by people ready to answer the call when their country needs them. And sometimes, late at night while studying, Samantha would smile at the memory of Trevor Walsh's mockery. If only he had known how right he was,